Reality Check is the perfect name for a docuseries about a delusional tyrant named Tyra Banks. I said what I said. Real quick, you guys, the black box that keeps appearing in my video is this little camera right here. I was drinking orange juice, and when I removed the background, it completely removed the camera shaped little drink box. Just wanted y'all to know. Hello, everyone. I'm author R.L. Raintree, and this is Reels and Reads, where I give honest reviews and occasional spoilers. Reality Check is a three-part docuseries on Netflix about the entire timeline of America's Next Top Model, one of the most original and innovative reality shows of all time. It also dives into Tyra Banks, now that there's a fallout, now that everyone's looking at it with new eyes, and how she's dealing with everything, and of course, the models themselves. What you will be given is a three-part docuseries. Part one talks about what the show began as, what the vision was, how it was ice skating uphill to begin with, and what the show was meant to be, what was promised to us. And by the time we get to episode two, you see where things go horribly wrong. Now, I'm going to give a trigger warning to people who have survived or are struggling with sexual assault or eating disorders of any kind, because in episode two is where a lot of this is shown. This is where we get the breakdown of a sexual assault that has been regularly framed as cheating, which I'll circle back to that later, and of course, groping and visible eating disorders being praised by Tyra Banks herself, and not just Tyra. When we get to the third episode, we see the downfall of everything, the fallout of everything, what brought the show to an end, what ended relationships and friendships, what ended business deals, and where are they now? Where are the models now? Where are the producers now? Where is Tyra now? What I really liked about the show is how the truth was extracted, whether Tyra wanted it to come out or not. And everyone's going to tell you that the monster here is Tyra because she is, but let's not ignore Nigel, Miss J, who is beloved, and Jay Manuel. They all played their parts, and that's one of the things that I loved about this documentary. There was no fluff, nothing was sugar coated, there was no filler when it comes to this docuseries. Everything that happened in this series was pertaining to the topic at hand. You know, sometimes docuseries they add a bunch of, exciting scenes just to stretch it out. That didn't happen here. Everything had a purpose. It was very neat, concise, and to the point. It needed no manipulation to expose the truth. Whenever you watch a docuseries or a documentary, you have to be mindful of the fact that sometimes the truth is being manipulated for its own ratings, much like what they did with America's Next Top Model. But on this docuseries, I don't feel like that's what was done. You see the discomfort in Nigel's eyes when he has to look back at some of the things that he did and he said. You see the discomfort in Jay Manuel's eyes when he sees all of the things that he overlooked because Tyra was his bestie. You even see the discomfort in Tyra's eyes. The difference with Tyra is that you see her brain working to excuse it and make it okay and make it out to be just a learning experience. We'll circle back to that as well. And then, of course, Ken Mock, whose only regret on the show was the blackface incident. Mind you, it happened twice. He doesn't regret the sexual assault episode. He doesn't regret airing a woman's mental breakdown. He regrets the blackface. Didn't tell us which episode. And the highlight of the series is definitely Danielle. Danielle seems to be the only person on planet Earth brave enough to call Tyra Banks out on her bullshit, saying those words specifically, bullshit. In fact, we end the documentary on Danielle saying one last time, bullshit. I love Danielle and everything about her, and I love that she never takes her foot off of Tyra's neck. And I love that she didn't take the foot off the necks of any of the producers. Again, social media will have you all think that this is all on Tyra, but this was on Ken Mock, this was on Nigel, this was on Miss J, this was on Jay Manuel. No matter how much you like those people, they all had the power. They literally had the power as producers to put an end to some of the things that happened, and they chose not to. Now, the thing that I didn't like about this series, because there really was nothing to dislike, so I had to look deep within my soul. And what I found is that it seems that no one seems to have picked up on Tyra Banks's colorism. You see, Tyra Banks, when she screamed and yelled at Tiffany, dark skinned black woman. When she outed Ebony from, I believe, cycle 1 and left her with no protection, that is also a dark skinned black woman. In fact, they called her angry and aggressive, just like they said about Tiffany and just like they said about Danielle. There's a pattern here. Once, maybe you didn't mean it. Second, maybe it's just a coincidence, but come on, 3 girls? Mind you, there were 24 cycles. Every time there was a dark skinned black girl on the show, Tyra had something bad to say to them. If you don't believe me, go look at it yourself. Tyra is the biggest tyrant when it comes to the dark skinned black girls. Girls like Naima, girls like Ava, they didn't suffer Tyra's wrath. In fact, oftentimes you can find Tyra Banks footage of her talking about how she wanted mixed kids and how she has mixed little nieces and nephews and godchildren. She loves mixed race people. And that shows in some of the decisions that were made in America's Next Top Model. So I don't like that they allowed her colorism to go unchecked, to go unmentioned. In fact, one of the ways they could have done this was bring up the fact that Naomi Campbell was treated like a tyrant, like the way Tyra has been exposed in this documentary. Naomi Campbell got a reputation for being a hothead, being difficult to work with because of Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks wanted to be the black supermodel after Iman, and you could never dethrone Iman. The only reason Iman wasn't at the top is because Iman quit. That's it. Iman retired, and she left some room for Naomi Campbell, and Naomi Campbell never not paid homage to Iman. But Tyra comes in and she wants to move Naomi Campbell out of the way and make room for herself. But let's not forget the fact that whenever we talk about supermodels, Tyra's usually not standing among them. It's Naomi, it's Linda Evangelista, it's Claudia Schiffer, it's Cindy Crawford. Tyra Banks is never included in that. So, anyways, I felt that the colorism should have been called out. I also felt that someone should have asked about legal action. Shandy, of all of the contestants, should have sued her. And if she can still sue, I fully support that. This is where I'm going to give a trigger warning for anyone watching my review. And also a spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, but I'm sure everyone on social media is already talking about it. Shandy imbibed an excess of alcoholic libation and was allowed to get into a hot tub. Right there, we know that cardiologists everywhere cringed because she had no business. None of them had any business in a hot tub with a belly full of liquor and no food because these girls were starved. Needless to say, one of the Italian gentlemen took that as free range to do what he wanted to with the woman who was incapable of consenting. And it was all recorded. Now, because this was the early 2000s, the victim blamed herself. She considered it cheating. She didn't understand that if you're not capable of consenting, well, we know what that's called. Now, to be fair, we don't consider situations like that rape until more recent years because we've changed the laws. But back then, women were held responsible for what men did to them. Why did you get drunk? Why were you wearing that dress? Why didn't you fight back? Beverly Johnson, when it came to Bill Cosby, when she realized she was drugged, she looked at him and said, "You motherfucker," or "You son of a bitch," one of the two. Because she was very well aware, especially when it comes to models, men are always trying to get you drunk, men are always trying to drug you just to take you down. So in the world of modeling, at least back then, you were expected to be diligent. You were expected to be the perfect victim. You were expected to fight back physically, scream, yell, cuss, and everything, which Tyra did say. But this is a girl from a small town working at Walgreens. She believed that she was a cheater. And what crushes my soul is that she still sees herself as a cheater. She is not. She is a victim. And if you were ever in a situation like that, you too are a victim. And I don't care what anyone tries to tell you. What happened to you was wrong and it is against the law. Now, I don't know if they got away with this because they were in Milan when this happened. Either way, this was sickening. And do you know the reason why we didn't get to see the whole thing? Because Janet Jackson was assaulted at the Super Bowl in front of the whole world, and that made them edit down the video. All in all, I give this docuseries 5 stars. They didn't miss anything. The only thing wrong with it is Tyra still not taking accountability and trying to soft launch cycle 25. Girl, keep it. Keep it. Anyhow, make sure you have your plushie with you. Make sure you have your Xanax with you. Make sure you have your blood pressure medication with you when you watch this series because you are going to lose your mind. Let me know what you thought of this docuseries in the comments. I know there are going to be a lot of controversial opinions.